You're listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sandra Boxx, where you get the inside scoop on the steps action takers and decision makers take to align their purpose to their principles and achieve their goals in business and life. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. And now, without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sandra Boxx.
Hey there, No Labels, No Limits podcast listeners. I want to grab just a couple of minutes before we start today's podcast and let you know about a new membership community that's opening up. It's called the SandBoxx. Now, the SandBoxx was explicitly designed so that folks like you who have big dreams and goals, who are working on busting through limiting labels and beliefs, who are overcoming challenges, have a place to come, to be encouraged, to get tips and tools, to meet other people and share ideas, and just relax. So as a member, you're going to have exclusive access to an extensive library of training, tools, and resources that have been meticulously crafted over the years. But that's not all. You are actually in the driver's seat, so you can help shape the direction of the content and the SandBoxx. So what's actually in the SandBoxx? Well, there will be expert sessions that will be tailored to your needs with a focus on the questions that come from our community. There are group learning sessions, live trainings, Q&A sessions, and we will be sharing inspiring membership success stories. You will have an opportunity to learn and grow alongside fellow SandBoxx community members. If you need guidance or support, our online forum is going to be the perfect space to engage with other members, ask questions, find motivation, and share your success with the SandBoxx community. We are committed to your success, and that's why we're offering monthly challenges and support check-ins, ensuring you're always on track. So click the link below and put your name either on the waiting list or sign up today for the SandBoxx community, and we'll see you there where the dreams will be unleashed and you will start making rapid progress. Tell you that on this week's episode of the No Labels, No Limits podcast, I'm sharing something a little bit different with you. Now, I know sometimes for some of us, it can be a little uncomfortable to meet someone totally new. And I don't know, I get a lot of people who want to talk to me. It's like, hey, can we meet? And frankly, those are cold calls. They're not any kind of connection that there's a rationale. Like it isn't somebody who someone else thinks I should meet. Now, on the ones where there is somebody that someone I trust says, hey, you two should connect. I'm not sure why. I just think it's a good connection. You should meet. I will take those calls. But I realize some folks may be a little uncomfortable. Like, what do you say to someone? You don't know them. What's the purpose of the call? And I've just decided that my biggest tool in that toolkit at the time is just to be super curious and open. And that's one of the things that we're doing in the SandBoxx, which we've talked about a little bit on other episodes. I'll talk more about it in the future, that there is a space for people who just want to say, hey, you want to hop on a call and get to know each other a little better. Maybe I can help you. Are you trying to talk through something, right? Like that. So I was hooked up with this gal, my good pal and colleague, Ken Fay, said, I think there's something the two of you should meet. So I thought I've taken some clips. They're a little, I didn't spend a lot of time producing, let me say that. So when we finished one piece, I jumped to the other. But this is a conversation I had with Sandra West. Other than Ken's little introduction to me via text, I don't know much about her. And I intentionally did not do deep research on her. I do research when I'm doing podcast guests, but I just didn't do that for Sandra. I thought, let's just let it be organic and see where it goes. So you'll hear from three of us. It'll be myself, Sandra, and then Ken pops in. And it ended up going from a get to know you to starting to collaborate and coming up with ideas, totally organic, not planned. I thought it might be fun for you to listen to some behind the scenes conversations that go on. Let me know if you like it. All right. Thanks. Sandra, while we're waiting for Ken, I know he introduced us a while ago, but he speaks really highly of you, and I'm curious about you. I didn't research you. I didn't Google you. I thought, Sarah, don't over this. Here you come. But I'm curious about just knowing a little bit more about you and what you're doing and up to.
Absolutely. Kind of did the same with you. Ken spoke very highly of you. I did glance at your LinkedIn profile, but that was the gist of it. So I didn't dig. I figured we'll let introductory meetings be introductory meetings. So I have been working in the branding and marketing space and digital design space for over 20 years. And it's come along in a very messy career path, patchwork manner where I learned lots of other things along the way, to include getting a degree in criminal justice psychology, neither of which I turned into a career. And so it's been kind of a twisty, windy career path to get to where I am. But what I found was I was really loving doing the work that I was getting in freelancing and contracting, and I wanted to turn it into something that I could do as a business. But I really enjoy working one-on-one with those entrepreneurs and small businesses that are super driven and really passionate about what they're doing and wanting to help people and get their message out. So I found that I was consistently ending up with long-term clients that were coaches, educators, service providers that were doing things like yoga or Reiki, spiritual providers, people that were really passionate about their business and building a vision and making an impact rather than making revenue. And so that's kind of what I've built my business around. I made the transition doing those kind of piecemeal freelance and contract jobs into building out a business about 3 years ago. And I've built a team now that I work with. And 2 of my team members are my daughters that I am training into the industry. So that is cool. a fun experience and mess of its own. And I'm really just dedicated to figuring out how I can continue to maximize my impact and still be able to have that really one-on-one partnership that I have with my clients, which makes the idea of scaling and increasing my impact a little bit tricky because I don't want to give up the ability to really form those relationships with my clients and be part of their team and part of their mission.
So I see, Ken, why you see the link. Because that's really our whole thing, too. It's like we're not looking for high volume. We're looking for high impact. Or we think about like relationship over everything, frankly. This is tangential. Your choice of criminal justice and psychology, those are fascinating. So, but why did you go that way?
So the criminal justice route, I've always had a major interest in law and constitutional law. So all of my courses were really around like social justice. I took the basic courses I had to take for what would be pre-law, but everything that I had an option for was around social justice, race and justice. That was really where my interest was within potentially getting into the justice system. And psychology was actually a minor, which kind of tied into some of those other things that I was learning in criminal justice. But I got really hooked on psych. And when I got close to graduating, my advisor was like, you almost have a double major. If you do, another semester and a half, you can, just have 2 majors and get 2 degrees. I did. But it really tied heavily into working with social justice initiatives was my aim. And then I graduated and found out that both of those bachelor's degrees needed some sort of supplemental certificate or further degree to do any of the things I wanted to do. And I continued with my freelance work I had been doing and homeschooling my kids, and the idea of turning either one of those degrees into some type of a full-time career where I needed to work a 9-to-5, it just didn't materialize.
Well, but my bet would be that it did inform how you do your work.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. It's a huge thread. And not only did it inform how I do my work, but I started working on those degrees when my girls were toddlers. It informed how I raised my kids. My girls have been raised learning the things that I was learning as my eyes were being open to things I was teaching. I homeschooled them. So we learned all the things that public school doesn't like to teach. So I think that it's really kind of kicked off the impact that I wanted to have on the world. And it definitely has informed how I work with people and who I choose to work with.
Yep. I just think there's no wasted experience.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's all pieces of where I am now and where I want to go.
Plus creative thinker.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah. In talking to Sandra and knowing what we do, I feel like there's like this synergy of a few things. One, support. Even if that's just colleague, many supports, colleague support like you're doing right now. Yeah. Learning from each other is always awesome. But also, in the practical side with clientele, there could be clients that you have, that may need, you're talking about expanding your team and expanding services, the people you trust and know what they're doing. I would say that we are those kinds of people. So you could expand out into like we talked before, into a foray of different services that we can do in the SandBoxx, and we can kind of just be that place that your clients can play in, but they're part of what, so we can provide that support or that forward support, depending on where you wanted to scale it. And then for SandBoxx too, having Sandra, you and your team around, it's kind of like there's this forth. Okay, so what are the strengths of our teams? What are our weaknesses of our teams? How do we fill in those gaps? And then how can we together, we'll have mutually shared clients. I could see that where
I could,
we're doing one, and oh my goodness, we got to bring Sandra's team to do this piece. And Sandra, you're like, okay, this is cool, but you know what? Oh, I really need these services. Like, I want to get them. They need to build a podcast, or, I've kind of told what we can do. They need a full-fledged video production, or they need a message, or they need coaching on strategy, or they need, there's a lot of things between Sarah and I and our team that, as we said before, we have, writers, back-end support, logistics, full-fledged video production, Hollywood style, right down to just man on the street. And all those levels in between. We all know so many people that I see that there's every reason in the world to come together and say, okay, what client is a sticky point? What would help get that client in? How do we share that? And what resources so that we're enhanced? It's kind of where I was thinking of that.
But I do like when there's people like yourself who have this passion and this vision. I'm thinking, oh man, how fun to collaborate on something, and go. Then a client goes, what a team,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was so fun on this latest video thing we did for them to go, no concept. They're nonprofits. No concept of what it's like to have a professional video crew show up like Ken and the guy he had on site with him. They're going, wow, that was amazing. And I'm thinking, yeah, you don't need to think you're only this big because you're a nonprofit. You can have access to really good stuff that will get you resources so that you don't have to be beholden and stuck in the grant cycle. Just the stress. I've run nonprofits and it's stressful. Will that staff be there? And yet I'm a big believer in nonprofits who are doing great work because they are interface between the government, and I love the entrepreneurial, but I do believe the entrepreneurial spirit is essential because you get a big nonprofit and then you're just like a big corporation. It's no, we have this, and it's let them stay nimble. So anyway, that's just my bias. And I was excited to listen to you a bit because I'm going, yeah, you've already got that thinking, bringing your daughters in, vetting people out. And, if I had daughters who were interested and capable, I'd be having them in there, but I don't. I have a dog. My husband's not interested in getting involved in the guts of the business. So, anyhow, I don't know where to take it from here. It would be so interesting, though, I think, to have you. Do you feel like you could speak because you work with nonprofits, right?
Yes, I work with nonprofits, and I work with a lot of small entrepreneurs and people that are really just kind of getting their feet under them. Sometimes I end up working with people who don't have anything put together yet besides an idea. So I'm definitely at ground zero with a lot of my clients.
How do you address them when they say, we don't have resources for your services?
I try my best to meet people where they are. So I have clients that have come to me, interviewed with me, and they just really feel like I am the person they want to work with. And we'll start off on a basis of just consulting every couple of weeks. Yeah. And I'll say, okay, here's where I think you need to start. Here's some links. Here's some resources. Do this stuff. We'll talk in a couple of weeks. We'll catch back up. We'll talk about what worked, what didn't, what they're concerned about, and we'll just push through step by step. And, we eventually get to a point where they're like, okay, I'm ready. Let's get the branding put together. Let's get a landing page put together. And we start putting pieces.
So there you have it, a little bit of our conversation in the SandBoxx, and a couple of things that I want to point out that help me have fun. That's my main goal, is to have fun, meet somebody new. I think about like when you're a kid on the playground, right? You meet someone new. It's a little awkward at first, but if you're curious and you find out about them, you're going to find out if you do anything the same. You like to do some stuff, and you can quote unquote play together. So the tips are: stay curious. Don't anticipate too much where the conversation's going to go. Have fun, and it may just be a conversation. But I always think about, I may speak to someone tomorrow, a year from now, who I'm going, that person needs to know Sandra or whomever I've already spoken with. So let us know what you think about this, and we hope to see you soon in the SandBoxx.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic vision coach, Sarah Boxx. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahboxx.com/No Labels, No Limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. So please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Until next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.